right, we're going to go ahead and get started. We're right at the top of the hour. It is now 12 noon. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our PCUM Library Author Series. Thank you for joining us for this hour to share with us. I'm going to actually introduce our speaker for today. We are excited and we are elated to have with us Dr. Stephen Eisenberg, DO 96 of Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine, to share with us during this hour. Dr. Eisenberg is a triple board certified in internal medicine, medical oncology, and hematology, and he sees patients in San Diego, California. He was the first recipient of the Dr. Emanuel Fliegelman Humanitarian Award, an award for the doctor exhibiting highly compassionate care during his residency. Dr. Eisenberg also co-founded cCare, California's largest oncology practice. He serves as its medical director of integrative oncology, as well as its unofficial CEO or chief empathy officer. Building on his expertise in healthcare technology, he joined the faculty of Singularity University's Exponential Medicine program and was one of the first graduates of FutureMed at NASA's Ames Research Center in Silicon Valley. He has won numerous hospital awards for his uniquely empathetic bedside manners and commitment to meaningful patient engagement. His practice of writing songs and with his patients has earned him the nickname the Singing Oncologist and has helped him become the most followed oncologist on Twitter. Dr. Eisenberg also co-writes songs with amazing individuals living with cancer through Lyrical Life, a passion project of his that was featured on NBC's Today Show. Dr. Eisenberg hosts the top outlet for health information, innovation, and inspiration on the Dr. Stephen Show. His guests include A-list healthcare luminaries, thought leaders on the future of medicine, and celebrity health and wellness trainers. Dr. Stephen Eisenberg's book, which is what he will be talking about today, Love is the Strongest Medicine, Notes from a Cancer Doctor on Connection, Creativity, and Compassion, discusses how denial, anger, and fear-draining emotions can interfere with the effectiveness of cancer treatment, and how to overcome negative emotions by cultivating acceptance, love, and self-compassion. So I would like to present to everyone today, Dr. Stephen Eisenberg. The floor is now yours.
Hey, everybody. I see some people that I love out there. I see Dr. Goldstein, Dr. George Weinstein, some of my faves from all time. You know, when I went to PCOM, President Clinton was in office, and Dr. George Weinstein played Elaine on the PCOM Follies, because Seinfeld was the #1 show. So I'll start off how I started off those Follies. It's great to be here in Philadelphia, and you know, I just love that OMT. Those rib raisings, I love rib raisings. Let me tell you. So I just want to say it's so great to be with all of you today, and I'm blessed to keep in touch with so many of you. And I want to keep this really light and interactive and fun, because that's how life is, right? I mean, we're either in love or we're in fear. And the name of the book, if you have it, is Love is the Strongest Medicine. And I want to dedicate this lecture to Dr. Emanuel Fliegelman, because he was a beacon of love, and he loved his patients, and he taught me so much about patient communication and how to really treat your patient as if they're your own family member. And I've always tried to instill his 10 C's, which we all know by heart. And so I want to make this very actionable. I want everyone to get a piece of paper and a pen, if you can, because I have a very cool little I distilled the entire book into one formula. And I would love you guys to write this down and to bring it with you today and think about it when you're going through your day. And so when we talk about love in medicine, I like to break it down into an acronym. I'm really big on acronyms, as Dr. Mindy George Weinstein knows. I'm known as the acronym meister. And acronyms are so popular in medicine. We use them all the time. But I don't think you've heard of this one. And so we're going to use a formula. We're going to create a formula based on the concepts of the book. And this is a formula that you can use in any moment of your life, whether you're with a patient, whether you're a caregiver, whether you're a nurse, whether you're a doctor, whether you're an oncologist, whether you're an anatomy professor, whether you're in charge of the research institution for PCOM. There's so many things that we can use a little more love, especially in this world, right? We're so divided. A lot of hate out there, right? Everyone hates each other and we're so divided and there's wars and all this kind of horrible stuff. But when you think about it, we only get one go around. And if we can bring a little more love, if I can nudge you today to bring a little bit more love to your life and whatever you're dealing with, that's the message of the book. There's stories about patience and compassion and how certain and how caregivers can be with patients and how you can even bring love when there's something so awful like cancer going on in your life. You can bring love, believe it or not, to the cancer, which is a crazy concept if you think about it. But there's a story in the book about this wonderful Tibetan monk who was my patient. And I looked at the chart before walking into the room, and stage 4 lung cancer everywhere. And this is if you read the book, you'll know that this is a beautiful soul who basically lived on broccoli and meditation, never stepped on a bug, never hurt anybody. Stage 4 lung cancer. So I'm looking at the chart, getting ready to walk into the room. And I'm like, this is strange. This is weird. How can I help this guy? He's he didn't smoke. He didn't drink. But we know that lung cancer can happen to anyone. So I walk into the room, sort of nervous, sort of not quite sure how to deal with this beautiful Tibetan monk. And, he looks at me and he tells me to relax. And he says to me, I'm at peace. I'm at peace. I bring love to this cancer. And I told him, the best I can do is I can slow it down. I keep it at bay. I can keep you comfortable. I can try to shrink the tumors. And he did try some chemo. We tried a couple cycles of chemotherapy. But then he brought me aside one day in our follow-up meeting and he said, Dr. Eisenberg, you can't cure everyone. Some people, you just have to let go. And I bring love to this process. I bring love to you, to your staff, and I'm at peace. And he that's what happened. He drifted off in peace. He was on hospice and he drifted off in peace. And that taught me a lot about the power of love in oncology, in medicine in general. Not everyone out there is an oncologist. So that really touched me. That really changed my view. I've always been a lover, not a fighter. But I wanted to write this book because I thought I had something to say about the power of relationship, the power of communication. And I feel that medicine is really a relationship. It's a relationship between you and all the data that you need to learn. It's a relationship of everything that Dr. Goldstein and Dr. Weinstein teach you. It's a relationship of you to yourself. How are you going to deal with it? How are you going to are you going to be burned out? Are you going to have things that help you deal with all the stresses of medicine? So let's get into the formula. This is what I call the fabulous formula. And it's very simple. We're going to start with the top half of the formula, which of course is love, right? Can't be anything else. If I'm giving this lecture, it has to be love. And we're going to break it down. We're going to break it down into LOVE, right? So L, let's start with L. L is listen. L is listen. And do we listen to our patients? Do we really listen to our patients anymore? Or are we staring at the computer? Are we staring at the EMR? I think we stare at our EMR a lot more than we listen to our patients. I remember when our practice started, everybody's going to have a laptop, and we're going to bring these laptops into the room, and we're going to type on the laptops, and we're going to get our notes done real quick, and we're going to get these notes done, and we're going to type everything, and we're going to click off every review of systems, and we're going to click off every physical exam. It ruined medicine for me. And I bet it ruined medicine for you too. Think about it. And you know what saved me? A very simple concept. A scribe. A scribe saved my soul in medicine because I could listen. I could look at the patient again. And that's what is going to take us into the next letter. But I say often that listening is the most important thing we can do as doctors. And we have to listen. We have to listen with everything we have, with our eyes, with our ears, with all the nonverbal things that are said in the room. You could be talking to a patient about a new cancer diagnosis and they're sitting in the corner like this. You think you're getting through to them? I think not. That's why someone is there with them. Their best friend is there, scribbling everything down that you're saying, because they can't hear you. It's whew. They're in post-traumatic stress. I believe when you tell someone you've got cancer, stage 4, and the best we can do is keep you comfortable, they shut down. They shut down. And the best thing we can do is slow down, put your hand on their shoulder, as Dr. Fliegelman always said to do. Put your hand on their shoulder and say, listen, I'm going to treat you like my Aunt Mary. And we're going to have a conversation like I'm your nephew and you're my aunt. And we're going to speak that way to each other. And I want you to listen to me like that. And it breaks down this barrier that we create of I'm the big bad doctor and you're the little patient and you do what I say or you get out of here. And so listen. We listen from the heart. We listen from the soul. We listen. We ask, is there any more questions? What do you understand? What don't you understand? Best friend, June, what are you writing down? Are you completely understanding this? I always say when you get in your car to drive home, you're going to have 20 questions. Write them down. It's always when you're about to leave the room. Doctor, this is what I really wanted to ask you. What's chemo like? It's always when you're about to leave the room. You get 20 questions. And so you have to establish this wonderful camaraderie, this family kind of feeling. In my humble opinion, not everyone believes this, but I've seen it work. And I believe it in my heart. I believe it in my soul that when you treat your patient like your family member, like your aunt, your uncle, Your brother. If a patient's my age, hey, you're going to be my brother. If they're older, you're my aunt, you're my uncle. If they're younger, hey, I'm your older brother. You're going to be my little sister. I have a little sister who's 4 years younger than me. She's your age. Let's talk to each other like that. You can ask me anything. That's listen. That's true listening. And it's the most important thing that we can do as doctors is listen to our patients. That's L. O, observe. Observe. O is for observe. Please write this down. L is for listen. O is for observe. Observe is very interesting. Observe is all the stuff we have to do as doctors that isn't spoken. It's observing the energy in the room. It's observing what's not being said. It's all those nonverbal cues. Observing is also observing your energy, my energy, and you know, sort of clearing your energy from the last patient. Wait, observing, am I ready to go in this room? Am I ready to give my full presence to this patient? So observe has many, many different meanings. It's what's going on in this room? What's the relationship between these two people? Many times I go in, you see that you can sort of see the relationship between the husband and wife in 2 seconds. Quiet, I'm talking. I see that a lot. One or the other will tell the other one to sort of shut up. I'm doing the talking here. And so you have to observe what's the energy, what's the relationships, most of communication, believe it or not, and you all know this, 80% of communication is nonverbal. 80%. What's not being said? What's this mean? Are they depressed? Are they anxious? Are they listening? You have to observe all of this. And you have to use every single sense. Observing is putting a hand on the shoulder. And are they jittery? Observing all the physical exam, So observe has so many different meanings, but mainly it's all the nonverbal things that are in that room. It's observing the energy, and it's also observing the relationship to yourself as a doctor as you're about to walk in that room. Are you bringing in the last patient? Are you bringing in the fight you had with your spouse? You need to observe that. Dr. Fliegelman said, I always check my ego at the door. And I love that. Always check my ego at the door. It's not about you. It's not about me when you walk in the room. You need to observe, am I worried about the Phillies game that's coming up? I'm leading into the Phillies game, everybody. Go Phillies! Okay, back to the lecture. You need to observe, what am I bringing into this room with me? What am I bringing into the office? And you need to check your ego at the door. You need to just be a vessel of a beacon of love, a vessel of listening, a vessel of observing, a vessel observing the communication. How's the communication going? Is it contentious? Are they, you can walk into a room and you can already feel that the anger. Many times in oncology, patients take out their anger on the oncologist. I'd be pissed off if I got diagnosed with cancer. Who do I take it out on? Your spouse, the doctor, the nurse? I can't tell you how many times my staff tells me, oh my God, Mr. Johnson yelled at us. He cursed at us. He was so rude. And I walk in the room and there's hugs and love all around. You need to observe that. Taking it out on the staff. And and many times the patients behave beautifully for me, for you. But taking it out on medical assistants and nurses, and that you have to be aware of all of that. So observe is that mindfulness, right? Observe is observing the energy, observing, being mindful of what's going on in here and what's going on out there. That's O, okay? Listen, observe. V, verbalize. Verbalize. How do we speak to our patients? Is it like this? This is a computer. Hello, Mrs. Weinstein. I'm Dr. Eisenberg. I'm sorry, Mr. Weinstein. You're a male. I wasn't looking. I'm so sorry. I'm not verbalizing because I'm not looking at you. We need to verbalize is communication. It's verbalizing from the heart. It goes back. See these LOVE. They all lead into each other. They build upon each other. First we listen, then we observe. We're mindful of everything. Is there actual listening happening? Then we can verbalize from a place of mutual understanding and respect. If I come in and go, you got cancer, you got 6 months, you got to do chemo, the nurse will call you, goodbye, and walk out. How did that go? Is that verbalizing from the heart? I think not. Unfortunately, I've had patients who have transferred to me, and they have said that that's happened to them. Exactly. That exact thing has happened to them. That's a no-no in my book. You need to, again, all of this is my humble opinion. You don't need to do any of this. But this is what the book's about. Verbalizing from the heart means speaking in a way where you can be heard. Speaking in such a way where someone can hear you, right? You can say words as much as you want, but are you saying them in a way where someone can actually hear you? Will they listen to you? Yes, if you speak from the heart, if you speak from a place of love and mutual respect, and speaking to someone as your mother, as your father, as your uncle, as your aunt, that's verbalizing from the heart. And so we listen, we observe, we're mindful, then we speak. We speak from the heart, and we ask questions. We ask open-ended questions where we can get answers. So it's also allowing the patient to verbalize, what's going on with you? What are you stressed out about? What part of this are you understanding? What part of this is not connecting with you? So verbalizing is a two-way street. It's not, I'm the doctor, you listen to me, and that's it. It's listening to the patient. It's also asking the patient. Verbalizing is also asking the patient about their life. When I write songs for patients, it's all about two-way verbalization. It's all about a two-way communication. The songs are never about cancer. If you read the book, you see how I got to write songs for patients. It was just a simple way to communicate with them and to get to know them at a soul-to-soul level. That's what the songs are about. The songs are not about cancer. The songs are about, who were you as a child? How did you meet your spouse? What do you do in life what do you do when you leave this office? What are your hobbies? Do you like fishing? Do you like the Phillies? Have you ever gone to an Eagles game? What do you do when you're not here? What brings you joy? What brings you hope? What's your faith? Tell me about your faith. That's verbalization. That's true communication. Get to know your patient as a friend. Now, look, we're taught to build a wall. We're taught to build a wall between us and our patient, right? Dr. Fliegelman said, break down that wall. Teddy Eisenberg says, break down that wall. Barry Eisenberg says, break down that wall. Frederick Goldstein says, break down that wall. Mindy George Weinstein says, break down that wall. When you build a wall between you and your patient, yes, you'll protect yourself. You'll protect yourself. But will you enjoy the practice of medicine? When I built a wall between myself and my patients as a young oncologist, it didn't work for me. I got burned out. And the stories in the book, how I overcame it, it was when I started truly connecting at a soul-to-soul level with my patients, I could enjoy being an oncologist again. That's the key. That's the key. Don't build a wall between your patient. Break down the wall and communicate and verbalize from the heart. That's the key. Okay, so listen, observe, verbalize. What's the E? It's not Eisenberg, okay? It could be, but it's not. E is empathize, right? Get in your patient's shoes. Really get into their shoes. Don't just say it. Do it, right? What do we say in improv for my groundling friends out there? We say, show, don't tell. Show, don't tell. So when you listen and you observe mindfully and you verbalize from the heart, you have true empathy. You're empathizing. You are putting yourself in the patient, in their shoes, in the patient's shoes. And it's a beautiful thing when you're truly empathizing with patients because they feel it. They feel it. They feel your heart. And they tell you, they say, I love you, doc. I can't, 3 or 4 times a day, I have my little old ladies who say, can I have my hug? I need my hug before we go, Dr. Eisenberg. We need my hug. And the hugs are the best part of the day because when you hug, you're releasing endorphins. And so empathy, listen, observe, verbalize, empathize. You're putting you're in their shoes. What? Just the other day, I had a young breast cancer patient, younger than me, two young kids, there with her husband. And I thought back to when I was that age. And my wife and I had 2 young girls, the same exact age as their daughters. And I said, geez, what if I'm that husband? And that young breast cancer patient is my wife. And I'm sitting there across from a doctor thinking about stage 4 breast cancer with 2 young girls. And that shook me to my soul. That's empathy. And at the end of the visit, she's told me I have no hope. No one's given me any hope. At the end of the visit, we did a group hug. The husband, the patient, and I. And we sort of did let's put our hands in, and we said, Team Lisa. And we all got together, and it was like this moment. And she said, this is the first time I feel hope. Because she felt that empathy. That's the top half of the equation. LOVE, LOVE. Listen, observe, verbalize, empathize. Now, we're not going to spend as much time on the bottom half of the equation, but we have to know it. We have to know it because it's very common. And the whole idea is we're going to nudge ourselves back to the top half of the equation. Okay? The bottom half of the equation is fear, F-E-A-R. Force, escape, attack, and react. Force. Let's go through it quick. Now, the bottom half of the equation is still important, but the whole goal is to recognize where we are. Are we on the top half or are we in the bottom half? And each letter corresponds. So put L-O-V-E over F-E-A-R and then look at each letter together. So it's listen over force. Our force is we're forcing our own views. We're forcing everything. We're not listening. We're just forcing our own way. We're forcing our views onto the patient. We're not listening. It's my way or the highway. Get out of here, buddy. If you don't do it my way, that's it. I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to force my views because I'm the doctor and you're not. You're the patient. That's force. We don't want to do that. We want to listen. So at any moment in the day, we can say, with your spouse even, am I listening to my spouse? Or am I just sort of forcing my views onto them? Think about that. E is escape. Now, escape is under the O, right? Observe. So are we being mindful of what's really going on? What are we bringing into the room? Are we being mindful of the energy in the room? Are we being mindful of what happened in the last patient interaction? And now we have, we're bringing that into the next room. And at home, are we being mindful? Are we being mindful of being burned out? Are we being mindful of what's going on in our lives? Or are we escaping? Are we every night, are we escaping with Netflix and chill? Are we escaping with alcohol? Are we escaping with other drugs? That's escaping. Addiction is escaping. A very smart person told me the opposite of addiction is connection. Think about that. The opposite of addiction is connection. So when you're connecting to yourself, you're observing, you're mindful with what's going on in your world and in the world of the patient. Is the patient escaping? The patient just drinking themselves to death because they don't want to deal with the reality of going through cancer treatment. It's possible. So the opposite of O, observe, the observing of the being mindful is escape. Force, escape, attack, and react. What's the opposite of verbalize from the heart? Attack. Am I verbalizing? Am I listening and verbalizing with my partner, with the patient, with the staff, with the nurses? Or am I just attacking them? Give them, don't call me at 3 a.m. with the PTT. That's an attack. So the opposite, again, of verbalize, which we went into, is attack. Are we listening? Are we verbalizing? Are we just attacking who's with us? Attacking meaning, don't talk to me. Don't listen. Don't give me your ideas about what's going on. I'm right. You're wrong. I'm attacking. Get out of here. That's attack. And then lastly, we have what's the opposite of empathize? It's just react. React. Knee-jerk reaction. You're not getting in somebody's shoes. You're just reacting to what you think you know about them. I know you. You're from, you're from Philadelphia. you were raised in this way. I know everything about you. That's reacting. It's knee jerk. It's cookie cutter. It's cookbook medicine. You're just reacting to what you think you know. You're not empathizing. So the opposite of empathizing is just reacting from what you think you already know and what you already just knee jerk, knee jerk reaction. So let's put it all together. Let's put it all together. Listen over force, observe over escape, verbalize over attack, and empathize over react. Now here it all is. You can have this on a 3x5 card anytime throughout the day. If you feel like something's off, I don't feel happy, I don't feel fully self-expressed, I feel angry, mad, I feel something's not working in my life the way I would like it to. Nudge yourself up to the top half of the equation. Am I forcing my views? Okay, wait, I can listen. I can listen instead. That's going to transform the relationship. Am I escaping with drugs and alcohol, Netflix and chilling? And look, there's nothing terribly wrong with a little Netflix and chilling. But am I completely escaping every night with drugs and alcohol just to deal with my daily existence? If you notice that, okay, wait, I can start to observe. I can start to observe and be mindful of what's really happening here. What am I escaping from? Do I need to talk to someone about this? Do I need to get a little therapy and see why I'm trying to escape from my life every night? And then verbalize over attack. 50% divorce rate. Why? We attack each other. We don't verbalize from the heart when we communicate with each other. We're always attacking. So, wait, that interaction didn't go so well, did it? I probably attacked them, didn't I? Maybe I can go and apologize and say, listen, I'm going to verbalize from the heart. Sorry I attacked you and, was forcing my own views on you. Let's do a do-over, right? The power of the do-over is very underestimated. Let's have a do-over. I'm not going to attack you. I'm going to verbalize from the heart. And lastly, the most important one, am I just reacting to life? Am I just a ping pong ball? Boom, 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 boom. Just one thing to the next. Am I just being pushed from one thing to the next, just living in a reactionary world, which is very easy when we're bombarded 24/7 with the news cycle and everything else? We're just going to react. Life sucks. Oh my God, I hate this. You're reacting. If we can truly empathize with our patients and beyond, can we empathize with people who are oppressed or people who are different from us, people who are raised differently, people from different parts of the world? Instead of just reacting to what a talking head is saying on the news, can we empathize? Can we truly empathize from what we know in our heart, in our soul? So that's it. That's what I got for you today. Love over fear. Write it down. Listen, observe, verbalize, empathize over force, escape, attack, react. Notice where you are on the formula at any moment. Just notice and nudge yourself back. This is all about just noticing and nudging, N and N. sort of like M&Ms, but no, it's N and N. Noticing and nudging. Noticing and nudging. Noticing where I am on the formula, and just nudging yourself back to where you know you can be. You've been there before. You know what works. You know what doesn't work. But the formula is just a little reminder, because life is always about, when you're talking about these kind of concepts in the book, life is always about forgetting and then remembering again, forgetting and then remembering again. So noticing and then nudging, noticing and nudging. It's all in the book, right? These concepts are what turned into the book. The book goes through real world cases and real world stories that use these concepts. And these are the concepts that turned into the songwriting and all the other stuff. So noticing and nudging, noticing and nudging. Where am I? Where am I in this formula? Because we always forget. We're humans. No one's perfect. I'm certainly not. Anybody who knows me will tell you. But they'll also tell you, he'll notice and he'll nudge. I'll notice when I'm doing something that's not working, and I'll nudge myself to listen, observe, verbalize, and empathize. If I notice I'm in force, escape, attack, react, and sometimes it takes someone else to help you notice. My wife will tell me, hey, that's not working, man. And I'll go, yeah, I'm forcing. Let me just listen. Hey, what's going on with you? What didn't work about that interaction? So again, that's what I have. Let's open it up to questions. Let's open it up to questions. I see Frederick Goldstein. I see, let's open it up to real live questions so I can hear your voices and do all of that. Can we do that? Can we open it up to questions and call on people?
Yes, absolutely. At this time, we are about to come to the top of the hour at 1 o'clock. So now it's the time for any questions. And we do have a couple of questions in the chat box already. The first question that came in was from Dr. Andrew Malinchek. He is asking, how did you come up with these concepts, Dr. Eisenberg?
How did I come up with these concepts? Life, living, going to PCOM, my dad, my Uncle Teddy, Dr. Mindy Weinstein, Dr. Emmanuel Fliegelman. I'm on the I stand on the shoulders of giants. My father is a musician and an artist. Then he went to PCOM. So he brought a lot of these concepts in our home. He brought a lot of the concepts in the home, self-expression and love and music and laughter and art. And so I didn't come up with these concepts. These are simply me standing on the shoulder of giants and distilling them into a book and creating a formula just to make it actionable. Because I wanted you guys to have something today that you can walk away with. You don't need to read the book if you haven't read the book. You got the knowledge, you got the formula. I'd love you to read the book because it takes what we just did and brings it into real world situations and all this kind of stuff. And really brings it home into your soul. But I didn't make any of this up. This is just interacting with beautiful people who I've mentioned, and I'll say them again. Barry Eisenberg, Teddy Eisenberg, Emanuel Fliegelman, Mindy George Weinstein, Frederick Goldstein, all the people that I've interacted with in my medical training since 92, since 1992, these things have just come to me through, again, loving those people and listening to them and observing them and verbalizing with them and empathizing with them. That's how this all came to be. Who else do we have?
Dr. Goldstein has a question for us.
Hey, Steve, just full disclosure, Steve and my older son, Martin, were students back at Upper Dublin. I knew Steve as a medical student, and he may not remember, but I don't know if he was a resident or a senior student, but he came over to my office. He had a patient who was undergoing rapid desaturation, and the patient was getting oral medication. Steve said, "Can you come over and help me with this?" I was gratified. As a PhD, I'm involved in clinical, but that was great. So thank you. And I took a lot of notes. So my question, one of them I'll ask now is, Steve, after you handle a lot of these patients, which I know affect you, when you go home and you've got a wife and you've got kids and they have issues, what do you do to kind of not unwind, but to deal internally with what you have just been through, which could be a really bad day?
There are bad days. When I have to give back to back to back to back bad news, that's a tough day. That's a really tough day. And the first thing I do is when I walk out to my car is crank up the music. Crank up the music, and I will put on music that gives me the chills in a good way. I try to create experiences of awe, Dr. Goldstein. How do I do that? There's no good formula for that. It's finding things in my life that bring me awe, that give me the chills. It's that song from Les Mis. It's that inspiring movie. I like Groundhog's Day. It's watching a really good stand-up comedian. It's watching Sebastian Maniscalco do an amazing bit. It's laughter, it's music, it's creating experiences of awe. And do I always achieve that? No. Sometimes I come home and I bring it with me. I try my hardest before I walk in that house, my home, to leave it in the car. If I'm not on call, I'll leave the phone in the car. If I'm not on call, I'll try to leave do I always know? Come on. But again, I notice and I nudge. If I notice I'm off, that was hard. Back to back to back to back to back bad news. That was really hard. That was super hard. I'm going to create some experiences of awe. I'm going to listen to some really inspiring music. I'm going to watch some comedy. I'm going to go for a walk on the beach with my wife. Let the ocean wash over me. I live in San Diego now, but I'm Philly 100%. You cannot take the Philly out of Eisenberg. You will never take the Philly out of Eisenberg. So that's that's what I do. And the beach has been great. I mean, the beach has been wonderful. I recently went through a mitral valve repair myself. I had a very leaky mitral valve and it needed to be repaired. And what got me strong enough to go through the operation, to go home from the hospital from open heart surgery the next day. No, it was robotic, which was beautiful. Robotic, they went through my ribs. Didn't have the full sternotomy.
Didn't have to crack your chest.
They did not have to crack my chest. But what got me through that? Walking on the beach. miles and miles before the operation. I got strong. And then to recover, the operation was January 7th of this year. And here I am, alive, giving this lecture on love over fear. That was a huge thing, walking on the beach, letting that ocean just wash away those difficult interactions. And that the ocean always brings me into an experience of awe. And then put on a little Les Mis as you're watching the ocean, forget about it. It's hard to keep, it's hard to be burned out in that moment. So that's my answer. That's my answer, my wonderful professor.
Thank you, Dr. Eisenberg.
Okay, Dr. Mindy, why you have a question for her? Go ahead and unmute yourself.
I do.
My favorite of all time, Elaine from Seinfeld. Hello.
You all should have seen him on the stage that night. But anyway, so first, for those of you who haven't read the book, I have to say that it is a magnificent piece of literature written from the heart. And it's just such a joy to hear you talk about your book and your concepts in person, Stephen. I'm just so thrilled to see you. But I do have a question, even though see, I took notes. See? And my question is this: do you find that there are differences or unique challenges to the patient as opposed to the family and other support people for moving from the bottom of the equation to the top?
Yes. Yes. It's the hardest of all. Because their whole life has been turned upside down in an instant. And I say it's akin to when you hear those words, you have cancer, and God forbid, stage 4. Entire life turned upside down. The equation becomes extremely difficult. It takes months and months of communication and work. It's super hard. And the truth is, many don't get there. Many don't get there. Despite everything we try, everything we do. I have patients who just, there's also some beautiful moments, even if they don't get all the way to love. There's peace many times. There's an acceptance, right? There's going through the stages of grief, anger, acceptance, eventually getting to acceptance. But when I bring these concepts to the patient, I find that it becomes 1% easier each day. It's not a massive transformation from post-traumatic stress to post-traumatic growth. My goal is to take a patient from I have cancer, that horrible feeling, that post-traumatic stress, I call it. I don't call it that, but I feel like that's what it is, to post-traumatic growth. How do we get there? Through these concepts. Can we use this cancer as a turning point, as a point to grow? Can we use this cancer as a way to heal things that have been unhealed? Can we talk to our sister that we haven't talked to in 20 years? Can we heal the relationship with a sibling, with a child that we have been estranged from? Even if we do one thing that this cancer has taught us or brought to us, then I feel they've brought some love to it. Not everyone's going to be the monk and bring love to the tumor. I believe that when you do treat the tumor as actually part of yourself and not hate it, but say, look, I know you're part of me right now. We're going to get rid of you, but I don't hate you. There's probably some reason that this is happening, and we're going to attack it, and we're going to attack you and get rid of you. One of my mom's best friends said to me, when the voice in your head says something that's not working for you, you can just say, thanks for sharing. For sharing. So it's almost like, hello, tumor, thanks for sharing, but okay, we're going to get rid of you now. So it is much harder on the patient. But here's something very interesting, Dr. Weinstein. Sometimes the patient this blows me away. The patient's got it all handled, and the caregivers are losing it. The patient is the strong one. And they're saying, listen, son, daughter, it's going to be okay. I got this. And they're showing love. They're showing strength. They're listening to their children. They're observing the fear and the awful, the way the children are just not dealing with this at all. They're verbalizing to the child, I can do this. I'm strong. I'm going to beat this. And they're empathizing with their own child who is in such fear and can't deal with this at all. I see that many times the patient is the source of strength for the family. Not all the time. It's a very special person who does that. But yes, it's much harder for the patient to notice and nudge to the top half, especially listening to themselves. Are they blaming themselves? I always say that oncology is not a blame game. Oh, if only I hadn't smoked. If only I hadn't drank those beers when I was a teenager. People blame themselves all the time. First thing I say is, you didn't cause this. This is again, cancer can happen to anyone. A Tibetan monk who never smoked, who never ate anything but vegan and broccoli and meditated on love for his entire life. So don't blame yourself, okay? So that's the first thing I say. How are they speaking to themselves? Oh, I'm an idiot. If only I hadn't. Oh my God, I'm gonna die. I'm so bad. If only I didn't tell Jimmy that he was a jerk. Like all these kind of things. That God hates me. There's so many things that people are going through, and none of it's true. None of it's true. And then are they observing? Are they being mindful? Are they being mindful of what's going on in their lives? Am I, how am I reacting to the chemo, right? I say, everyone, write everything down, take notes, have a little journal. Felt like crap after chemo today. Zofran helped. This is for Dr. Goldstein, took morphine with NSAID, really helped the pain. Writing it all down, getting in touch with what works and what doesn't. And then again, how are they speaking to themselves? And then again, self-empathy goes both ways. Self-compassion. That's the biggest thing, Dr. Weinstein. Can they get to a place of self-compassion and not say, oh, I hate, I hate this, I hate myself, can they bring love to themselves? That one thing, that alone, if I can just help someone have some self-compassion, then that's a huge thing. If I can give them a little self-compassion, that's going to be a huge, huge thing. A little more self-compassion, a little more self-love, that can change things for the better. That's all I got for you.
Thank you, Steve.
Wow.
Anybody else?
Dr. Eisenberg, this has been powerful, insightful. This has just been wonderful. I don't know about you all, but I'm really full. I am inspired. We did have one request. I know it's 1 o'clock and the session ends, but Kevin Bradford would like to know if you could perform a little bit of one of your patients' songs.
I'd be happy to. I know, don't have the guitar on me right now, but I'll do a little a cappella. I'll make up a song about PCOM on the spot. Because we got the Phillies, everyone's got to get ready for the Phillies. Here we go. PCOM, we've got Goldstein, we've got Weinstein, we've got empathy, we've got listening, we've got observing, we've got verbalizing, and lastly, we've got empathizing.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Stephen Eisenberg, for this session. Thank you to all of our participants. Just to let you know that this recording will be archived on our YouTube channel. So I know the recording is now about to end. So thank you everyone for sharing with us. And I hope that you have enjoyed the session just as much as I have. And have a great rest of your day. And we'll see you at our next author series. Take care, everyone.
Bye, Steve.
Bye. Thank you, guys.